part of the virus, they were going to sleep like at 2, 3, 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And so the whole routine was thrown off, because the routine is a powerful structure to help us feel like we're safe and we're familiar with what's going on. Well, everything was thrown out, right? People are not going to school. They can sleep whenever they want to. They get up whenever they want to. They don't go outside. They don't get sunshine. They don't get exercise. So it was taking a profound toll on kids, and I saw a lot of them regress. They were acting younger than their stated age. That's one thing that happened. The other thing that would happen is people would get upset and don't even know what they're upset about. Mm-hmm. They wake up, and I even felt that way. I remember halfway through this, and I'm thinking halfway because I'm thinking, at least in Massachusetts, we're headed towards the tail end. I'm praying for that, right? But I remember a few months ago, I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's change this. I don't want to see this anymore, right? And I was lucky. I was able to walk to my office and walk home at night. I spoke to some kids, this is 2 weeks ago, who hadn't left their apartment since February. I mean, they didn't even go outside. And we know how important it is for kids to be active, for them to have sunlight. I can go into the details later on, to get exercise and fresh air. But they were afraid. I spoke to one young man that we were working with at Student Services at Roxbury, and we were concerned to try to keep him from like getting caught up in the gang thing. And he's a tough kid. And I was speaking to him doing Zoom like we're doing now. And I'm like, yo, I can't see you. Can you like pull the shade so I can better see you? He said, no, I'm not opening the shade. And I said, why? He said, because of COVID.
Yeah.
So, and I said, yo, the virus can't come through your window. But he was so afraid. This is a tough kid, right? You would think like he doesn't seem like a guy that would be scared, but this thing scared him. He couldn't even open the shade to his window, far less even go outside.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to Dr. Matthew Birmingham. I love the way you have been able to capture, in essence, this conversation and the important role that our barbers and our hairstylists play in our community, not just during COVID, but I think historically, we have found a lot of solace in these spaces. And I don't think that barbers and hairstylists usually get the credit that they deserve as it relates to, it's not just providing a service of cosmetics, right? It's really about really working with the entire mind, body, and soul when you're in these seats. And I think that this conversation really presents itself as an opportunity for us to really explore how we can help support these professionals while they also are supporting the community. And that means through whether it be providing mini grants or really thinking about programming, that there is an opportunity here. And I know that Michelle Bodis is on deck here. And if anyone knows how to do wraparound services and create opportunities for community, she is one. And so, Michelle, let's put a pin on that, because I think that this conversation is really a great jumping board on what can happen in the future. But I want to bring Jorge into the mix, because Jorge, you had a personal experience that really helped shape a lot of the work that you have been doing, and you're a barber and a motivational speaker. But can you help us understand what happened in 1994 that changed your entire life, and how you were able to cope with that situation, and how this conversation is so relevant to what's happening right now?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for allowing me to get on the panel. Amazing group of individuals in here. So honored. 1994, I got gunned down at the age of 17 in Connecticut at the doorsteps of the Bristol Courthouse Police Department at 12 o'clock in the afternoon in front of my mom, due to gang violence. No father in the household, came from welfare recipients, generational of welfare recipient, 9th grade dropout. Ultimately, through that whole transaction, family get up and left. I stood in Connecticut for several more years, making me maybe, I want to say around age of 19, 20, I ended up in Massachusetts. My grandmother was here in Worcester, so which is where I'm originated at. And, at 17, how did I get into gangs? Well, no guidance, no, education was not celebrated at home. There was no other place that I was getting my information but from my household. And unfortunately, at that time, my household there was no direction within themselves, the adults. And then, that trickles down to the minors. By the time I did ended up in the wheelchair, to me, life was pretty much over. 17, May 2nd of 94, I got gunned down. December 14th of 94, I had a beautiful baby girl. And, it was a bittersweet year for me. But I remember, not having no answer to go, nowhere to go, nowhere to talk to, no peers, no coaches, I had dropped out a year or so prior from me getting gunned down. And so when I ended up in Massachusetts, it took me a while before I got back in track and started calling, when what I call is interacting in real life. Because like the doctor said, when you're involved in certain as a young brother or sister, it's the trust factor. And the trust factor is that you only trust a handful of people around you, and that could be the wrong information, but those are the ones that are next to you. So you don't let nobody in, or the walls are so high that you don't allow people bad people to get in, but you also don't allow the good people to come in, right? So the trust factor at a young age was huge, which that leads to the mental awareness of someone. But through the process of me, fighting through it and wanting better and having a daughter, I found Rob Roy Academy, which was right here in Worcester. And I remember just the way I found Rob Roy Academy was literally stopped to talk to somebody. I was intrigued because they said that was actually a barbering school. Went in the building just to ask some questions because I was just like intrigued with it. Never inspired to be a barber. Never. It wasn't something that I was taught from I was young. I did used to get haircuts here and there when I was a younger kid, but it was nothing that I would ever connect. But for the grace of God, I never left the school, and through that experience, I was able to graduate. And not only graduate, dominate the barber industry for years. I've been a master barber / cosmetologist. I was part of the Massachusetts Barbering Board for several years. I was also a state evaluator. So not only I educated you, I actually tested you and were able to give you a license through testing at a state level. And I would be one of the ones recommending you if you did get caught with any unlawful activities in the beauty industry. And I say that to say that I had to do that within, the confinements of my wheelchair and dominate a space that consists of individuals cutting hair for several hours behind the chair, standing up. And so when I went in there, it was I was the minority, and it wasn't my skin color. It was just me being disabled. So I had from the beginning, I had a good value and of what the industry did for me. And so as I were able to accomplish certain things, and one of them was being able to have a barbershop in the city of Worcester, going on 16 years right now, we still open. I used my establishment to actually create workshops for young adults. It's called the Youth Mentorship Program, to give either college readiness or entrepreneurship readiness. But we also, one of the things that we actually work with is the mental health. Why? We're the pipelines. Barbershops and salons are the pipelines to the city, or any town, any city, however you want to see that. That's the area where people feel the most comfortable, besides your doctor, when you go see your primary. And even your doctor, let me speak of men of color. We don't go to the hospitals. That's why we actually, by the time we actually know that we are sick, either mentally, physically, sometimes it's too late, because we are the last ones to try to do the doctor visits. Through the process of me being able to open my establishment and use my platform to advocate, go to schools across the country, and let people know what I technically do, because it is attractive, the fact that I was able to become successful in an industry that consists of standing up. I did it sitting down. I use that platform to get young brothers and sisters the attention that that we need to get from them, so they could understand the message. That within itself has created a space that we do these mentorship program prior to COVID-19. We were doing it every month. We did it for several years, and then COVID-19 came. Prior to us actually doing the mentorship program, we also had a connection of barbershops in the city. I want to say maybe a average of 7 to 10 barbershops, and we called it the Barbershop Health Network. And what we were doing is that we were actually bringing doctors from UMass, and they would come into the actual shops and create workshops while people were getting haircuts, ask questions, talk about diabetes, high blood pressure, educate people. Why? Because we understood that they were more comfortable getting that information within the barbershop than actually taking them somewhere else, and they most likely would have not gone there. They're already there. And so the talks right before everything kind of stopped for don't know what reasons in the city. We were thinking of having a Ronald McDonald bus outside each shop, different locations of the city, so kids and men of color could get services through free health insurance and all that good stuff. So I am a high believer in what we're doing and on what this cause stands for, because through COVID-19, one thing that I heard several people talk on regards to the mental health, it's serious. Me myself, I'm a very strong individual. I've been in this chair for 26 plus years. I went from paralyzed mindset to the prosperous mindset, and I had to, just like the doctor halfway through this, I had to check myself, have my wife cut my hair because I didn't feel good inside, and that took a mental thing. But that's a little bit of what I do and how I use my barbershop in the city.
Thank you so much for bringing this into the space. Just wanted to acknowledge that people are having problems logging in, and if anyone is having problems, we're asking you to try it one more time. Traffic has increased, which is a good problem to have. That means everybody's trying to get up in this space. So just try one more time so that you can be engaged in the conversation. And I know Ian Davis, who is the owner of Barber Time, he also just posted something on Facebook. He says, barbers and stylists are always helping their communities with mental health issues. That is true. I mean, like when you talk about trust and relationships, I mean, we go to you all to talk about we're going to dye our hair a different color, right? Or we want to do something bold, we want to chop it all off. Like, we rely on you all to help us make some major life decisions when it comes to how we're looking on the outside. But you're also the same people that we can find in when we're having issues in our relationships, when we're having issues with our children. Like, that's why when I think about this conversation, I'm so glad that it included barbers and hair salons, stylists in this whole journey, because this is where it begins and ends for a lot of communities of color. I'm gonna go on to there's a lot of feedback happening here on Facebook, so I'm excited to see that folks are engaged in the dialogue. We also do have some questions. If Mark, if you could do me a favor, put everybody on mute again. I'm just doing a little bit of background noise. That would be great. I'm not trying to silence y'all, but I just want to make sure everybody can hear us. So I'm going to ask another question here. And I think everyone reacts to stress differently. I use a lot of humor, and sometimes humor may not be the best way to deal with anxiety, but everyone does their own thing. And I'm just curious, how our barber salon and stylists, how are you guys dealing with stress? Who do you talk to, and what do you do to recenter yourself? I mean, a lot of the folks that I've come in contact with through our office, we launched a whole initiative to help support small barbers and hair stylists in the city of Boston. And a lot of them shared with us that they were really stressed out about the financial impact that COVID has had on them, on their businesses. And so they were also experiencing a lot of trauma. And I'm just curious, as barbers and hairstylists, how are you coping with all this stress, and who are you talking to? Your own stylist? I mean, I'm sure you don't cut your own hair. Where do you go for some solace? And I'm going to go back to Queen. We haven't heard from you in a while, so would love to hear from you.
Okay, so I just think it's very important to have a solid group of people that's in your core group that you go to the day, whether it's your family members or friends. I can't count on my hand how many people that will be for me, but is having like-minded people around you that you can like feed off each other, and also having multiple streams of income is very important. This year, Kings and Queens we're celebrating our Sweet 16. So we'll be 16 years old this year. And with the 16 years, I've learned that it's not just about making that quick dollar, making that money. I feel like right now, people say, oh, Queen, how's it affecting you? You're taking less clients and this and that. And at first I was nervous. I'm like, I'm used to doing at least 12 to 15 people a day. Now I'm down to like 6 when I am able to work. And I'm like, God, how is this all going to make sense financially? And in logic, it doesn't make sense. But in actuality, I'm not trying to sound all super spiritual, but God is working it out, because my thing is my faith and my hope and my trust is built on nothing less than what God provides for me. And so I think just having that type of mindset, that type of energy, things just happen effortlessly. Like this time, even with PE, I've been a part of different programs, COVID, to make sure everything is done properly regarding COVID and sanitation and all the things we have to have in place. And I haven't had anything come from these opportunities, but my clients and my family, I'm surprised the door didn't knock already while I've been sitting here on this live, because people come in all the time giving me Lysol and disinfectant, foot covers, and all kinds of things. So I just feel like when it's like reciprocity. When you're a giver, things come back to you. And I am definitely a giver. When it's like you reap what you sow. So I'm grateful for having a core group of friends and family, even clients who have an understanding of what it is to run a business, and they put themselves in my shoes. And they, often ask me, what do I need? And most of the time I said, no, it's okay. And then I, look and I noticed that they sent me an extra, X amount of dollars for gratuity, which is well beyond the $10 and $20 that most people leave. So just having those things in place, and, like I said, with the extra money, extra streams of income, it really helps during this time when it's not other things that people promise you and different grants that don't come through. It's just your faith, having faith and trust in God, and a core group of people around you that's willing to support you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm getting a 7-minute warning here. So I just wanted to just quickly just chime in and say one thing, and then also invite Slater to back into the conversation in regards to that question that I asked. I think that it's really important as we all continue to navigate COVID, is that Queen was really right on the money in terms of how we pour into others. Usually the universe always provides. And I think that COVID has taught us during these times that we're not as helpless or as hopeless as we've been led to believe, and that there's definitely a lot of strength in our struggle. As people of color, we have overcome so many things. And I think COVID is exactly coming into this space in this moment in time to show us how strong we can be. And I think that this particular industry has been proven that to be a good example of that. So I'm gonna go, Dr. Booz, if you could just share a little bit with me in terms of just how do you deal with the stress, and who do you go to for solace?
Yes. Well,
so I just want to first say I agree with everything that Queen said. During this time, things have been crazy, but thankfully I got my lovely wife here. I got my kids here. So I pretty much handle stress a little differently. I kind of like keep it in. I don't let it kind of bug me out. I just kind of deal with it. I kind of grew up kind of with that mentality of my mother telling me you just got to deal with it. You got to deal with it. So times like this where a lot of things are just not in your control and they're not in your hands. So what I was doing, obviously I'm here, like I said, my wife and my children, but I just did a lot of prayer and really just walking by faith. Like my shop was closed for 10 weeks. I wasn't making any money. I wasn't getting any other financial aid that a lot of people were able to receive. But I literally was just praying, put my faith in the Lord. And literally this COVID time was just a time for my family and myself to just reflect and just be with each other. So even though I wasn't working for 10 weeks, I was able to be home with my children for 10 weeks. And that's like priceless. So in terms of stress, even if I had something to stress, just knowing that I'm home with my family and I'm home with my kids, and my wife was able to work from home. So we're literally all together all day, all the time. And that moment for those 10 weeks, 11 weeks, that was time where I was able to just really just to sow into my family, just be with my kids, help them go over their letters, their numbers, time that I would never have gotten before if they were at school or if I was at the shop or if they were at daycare. They were literally in my face. So in that time, I was able to see my son grow up so much. I was able to see my daughter grow up so much. I was able to spend time with my wife that I would never have gotten any other time. Being with her the whole day was a different experience for us for the whole time that we've been with each other. So just having my family close, having my kids close, and as long as my shop was safe and my customers were safe, everybody's health was safe, and nobody was getting sick, and none of my clients had to go to the hospital. Nobody got COVID, thank God. That was like in my immediate circle. That was a more refreshing thing. So even though if I was battling stress and anxiety, not cutting hair and not getting myself a haircut or get my hair twisted or shaved, just knowing that people were safe and knowing that the shop was safe, my customers were safe, my family was safe, people weren't getting sick, everybody was home. That is what helped me to just kind of get over the time. Just know that everybody, like everybody's going through the same struggle, where everybody's out of work. So knowing that everybody was going through the same thing didn't make me feel as though I was doing it by myself. Like the whole world was shut down. So like, what am I gonna do? So I really can't stress because everything is at a standstill. So like I said, just knowing I had my family close and just knowing that I was able to spend 10 weeks up close and personal with my family and children, that was like priceless. So no matter how much stress I could have had, being with my children every day and seeing them and spending that time that I would have never had gotten before, priceless. So it evened out.
Thank you. Thank you. I see, and this is in the spirit of always looking at, no matter how bad things are, there's always something good in it. I think that that also helps our mental health, is being able to stay grounded in goodness. So both of your examples were really great of that. I want to bring in, I'm going to bring Malika and Matthew back into the conversation, and then I'm gonna go to you, Jose, next. So just get yourself on deck and ready to go. But this question is specifically around young people. What I worry about, as we start transitioning back to quote unquote normal, and I want everybody to know we're not going back to normal, because normal was not working for any of us. So let's not even say back to that. As we move forward to the way we need to be, right? I think about our children who are going to be walking back into the salons, into the barbershops, and to see the mask and to see things, the shields. I'm just trying to get a sense of like how that impacts the psyche of young people, and what recommendations you have for parents in particular, and also the stylists and the barbers to help put at ease the children. And I'm going to go to Malika first, and then to you, Matthew, okay?
So I think that at this point, the kids have been seeing this a lot, and I think it's important to have age-appropriate and clear conversations. I think that in our community, in many communities, there's a thought that kids are too young to understand, so we'll just kind of not explain it. And I think that might cause more anxiety and fear than getting some support, having an age-appropriate conversation and asking questions. Are you worried? What are your questions? And then if you don't have answers, being honest. I'm not sure about that. Let's find out. Let's see if there's somebody that can support us and have a better understanding of that. Like, I think that kids have the ability to process the information in a safe, honest, and trusting relationship. That being said, as Dr. B mentioned before, the kids have been in the house a whole lot. The kids have not been out of their regular rotation, but as the gentleman before me said, it's also been a gift of time with family. It's not been a gift for everyone. I want to just be mindful that there are a lot of families that are not in situations that feel safe and feel good and have parents who are managing their stress as he described. And those families, hopefully we're wrapping around them in the best ways that we can, and we're offering them support the way that we can. So I would say the best thing to approach anxiety and fear in young children is some, putting in place some schedules, having honest conversations, asking lots of questions, wondering with them if there's anything that they're worried about. Those are the things that I would suggest. I just want to really point out that not every family in our city has experienced this as a gift in the way that you guys so eloquently described, you know, and we have to be mindful of the people that it hit a little harder, or the people that felt isolated or did lose parents or grandparents, and just being mindful of having conversation and asking questions. Don't assume.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. B, I'm going to go to you, but I don't have the power to mute you, but I just want to let you know that I need you to keep this 30 seconds. And if you go on beyond 30 seconds, we're going to shut you down, because I was just told that I am over time, and I need to make sure that we move on to Jose and to Michelle. So 30 seconds. Come on, break it down.
We just met and you already know me. All right, 30 seconds. I've said it before, routine, relationships, recreation. We can model this for our kids. Kids look to us when things are scary to see if it's really scary and how they should respond. If we can exemplify the faith that you guys talked about, it is well with my soul no matter what's going on in the world, and be there for them, that's going to help them build resiliency and survive. So routine, have a regular routine for kids. Don't break the routine just because of the virus. 2, relationships. I love the way you put it. Dr. Boogs, is the idea of spending time with your children, playing with them, showing them that that you value them and you love them, and that even though the world is wild, we're going to be all right. And then have fun, like do things, and show them that you don't have to depend. I love the way you said this, Jorge. You know, in a situation where you were expected to stand, you actually stood taller by sitting down, right? So even if your legs may not work the way you would used to have them work, or the way you would hope they would work, you can still provide this posture, this response, that even though you're sitting down, you're doing something that even people who stand up aren't able to do. And we can do that with our kids. Okay.
Good job, because I was about to zap you. No, I'm just joking. Thank you. I'm going to traumatize you by the time I get done with this. So I've been asked to share one question that came from the audience, which is a really great setup for you, Jose. We've been hearing from families that they're traumatized in many different ways, whether it be lack of money, lack of food, the fireworks that keep popping off, like gunshots, the fear of letting their kids play outside, and the fear of COVID. And oftentimes making decisions based on these realities that foster fear. We're having difficulty finding community resources to provide a sense of safety and activities for kids and teens. We are frustrated with focusing mainly on coping skills and internal resources in individuals and families to cope and not cope, having places where kids and teens can go, to have space to build relationships, outlets for energy and emotions, build skills such as conflict activities, or some families are scared to utilize them. Are you hearing ways that we can increase these opportunities or increase a sense of safety among families so that they can use these resources? If it's safe to do so, and what other natural supports are available in communities for kids and teens? And I'm gonna ask you, Jose, if you don't mind unpacking some of the resources in ways that families can cope during these times. And you have to unmute yourself if you want to be heard. Let Jose speak, y'all. We can't hear him. There we go.
Let me just see if I'm doing this correctly.
Yeah, you are. We can hear you now. No, you were. No, you were. Now you got to do it again. Now
okay.
Good.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for allowing Mattapan Community Health Center to partake in this event. I think it's essential that all of us are kind of looking after our own mental health, and we know that COVID-19 has had a devastating impact. It's interesting because we're talking about trauma. We know that there's this underlying trauma associated with COVID-19, especially if we have lost loved ones as a result of trauma. And so I think you're right, Julia, in speaking of, we're not in a normal sense of operations yet, right? And that might take some time before it actually does happen. However, in the interim, we recently started to create a clinical rotation schedule at the health center, which allows clinicians to be on site and readily available. We do have a trauma specialist clinician named Amanda Rayon, who who does a lot of the trauma work. So if there's any shootings in the community, through a grant that we have through the neighborhood trauma team, she goes into the community and she responds. She's also sees all of our patients who are struggling with trauma symptoms, either acute stress disorder or trauma-related symptoms. And so it's great that we're back on board. She's in the health center 2 days a week. The other days we are working remotely from our office, from our homes, so that we can make ourselves available to the community. Let's face it, this is the new realities of working from home, temporary unemployment. Homeschooling for children has also been very stressful for a lot of parents also. It's like, I've never been a teacher before, and now I've had to kind of adapt to this. And also, it's been stressful also with the lack of physical contact with our family, our friends, our colleagues. Adapting to these lifestyle changes actually presents its challenges, and more vulnerable for those folks who present with mental health related concerns. And so I do want to highlight, in terms of resources, Mattapan Community Health Center, our behavioral health department, has about 8 clinicians on board. As you see from the shared screen, we offer individual therapy, we offer couples therapy, and families therapy. The group therapy is interesting enough. We're trying to really get this off the ground and get this going. Myself and Jessica Matthew, who is one of our behavioral health integrated clinician, is running a COVID-19 support group for those individuals who are indirectly impacted by COVID-19, because we are seeing an uptick in behavioral health referrals. Just today, in hearing our data analysis say, guess what? Behavioral health is 20% above pre-COVID levels. So we've seen our no-shows diminish, which is a good thing, because now folks are able to access care either through telehealth, a telephonic encounter, or an in-person visit. So I think there's more availability now for services that makes it much more accessible for patients to access treatment. We also have a psychiatric clinical nurse specialist who is with us 12 hours a week. She's outsourced through Boston Medical Center. She's with us 12 hours a week, and so she'll meet with patients who she feels could benefit from a medication evaluation to help treat their symptoms of either anxiety, depression, or any other mental health related concerns. We also know that, during COVID-19, we have also seen an increase in substance use disorder, substance abuse. So we also offer a office-based addiction treatment program where we're able to offer Suboxone treatment or other sources of medicated assisted treatment to help patients who are struggling with the grips of addiction. In addition to that, we have our trauma recovery team, which I just spoke about, which is Amanda Rayome. And then we also offer case management. As we know, many of our patients, and as you mentioned, Julia, it's those patients who really can't access those basic and concrete and fundamental needs, often has a very difficult time in terms of developing that therapeutic alliance with their clinicians. And so we want to make sure that our case managers are on board and really helping our patients kind of navigate through these social determinants of health. In addition to that, we know that while we're staying at home and we want to create a safe environment, we know for many that this might not be a safe environment, especially if there's domestic violence. So we do have a domestic violence advocate who is with the health center a few days a week through a program called Chairs, which is also a collaborative partnership with Northeastern University. So she's working remotely from home, but she's also available to provide services for those individuals who are presenting with domestic violence. I mean, we can help out with a number of concerns. Some of the list that you saw was anxiety, anger management, ADHD, bipolar, children's behavioral issues or behavioral challenges, couples issues, depression, grief and loss, life transition, PTSD, substance use disorder, to name a few. So I do wanted to bring awareness in this of the DMH that at Mattapan we do have the means and the capacity for providing these services to children, individuals, and families.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jose. I want, before I invite Michelle, you're next on deck. Before I invite Michelle on, I just wanted to acknowledge that when it comes to mental health, the stigma is real in communities of color. And I think that the more conversations that we have like these, and the more opportunities that we create for people to be able to speak their truth, the more we can start seeing ourselves as folks who go to therapy. It's not something that just the bougie people do. It's something that we need to start doing on a more regular basis. It's the same way that we take care of our physical health. Our mental health is just as equally as important, and we have to exercise our mental health muscle as well. So I'm encouraging those who are tuning in to take your mental health serious. But I'm going to invite Michelle Bodis, who, if you don't know, is one of my mentors, and someone who's really intentional about creating space and ensuring that the people who are living the realities and doing this work not only have a seat at the table, but that we're informing the thinking. And the fact that we're hosting this at midst of the COVID-19 and being really intentional about convening this dialogue speaks volumes to her leadership in this space. So Michelle is the Director of Cross-Agency Initiatives at the Massachusetts Department of Mental Health. And I'd love for her to come on in and share a few comments that we've heard from folks out on the Facebook Live, and just say hello to everybody. And you gotta unmute Michelle, y'all. You're still on mute.
Okay, how's this? Can you hear me? Are you getting it back?
Yeah, can you turn off the other piece of it? Yeah, oh, now you're on mute. So unmute the other one. No, you're on mute. You're on mute.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. You know, I'm having technical difficulties because I've got two devices.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, I had to turn one down. So I am so happy to be here today. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to everyone, and I'm thinking, wow. I'm so happy that DMH is sponsoring this event. Who would have thought that the Department of Mental Health would, convene such amazing to talk about, how we deal with stress and others and mental health in our community. I have to tell y'all that, one of the first things you do when you move from one state to another, two things you want to know is, where do you go to church, and where can I get my son's hair and my hair done? And so I say that because I remember moving back to Massachusetts about, 18 years ago, and I had dreads in my hair for like 12 years. And, I went through this change and I had to cut those dreads off. And that was such a spiritual and important thing for me. And I'll never forget what I went through to choose a hairstylist. I actually interviewed several. And so for those of my colleagues that are not of the Black community, I share that with you to let you know that that's how important barbershops and hairstylists are to a lot of us. So again, yeah, I'm happy that we're doing this. But you know what? Let me tell you all, this is who is really responsible for convening this group. This little guy right here, can you see him? That's Isaac. And Isaac's story is a graphic novel, and it's actually called Different Kinds of Hurt. And it's part of a campaign that was developed by the Department of Mental Health. And it's actually based on a true story. The campaign includes the graphic novel. There's an animated video, and also on the website there are we call them collateral materials, and what they are, they're talking points. So when a parent reads this book to their children, they may be not sure of how do I take this? What do I do with this now? And so we have that for parents. What else can I say? It's targeted to elementary and middle school children, and here's why. Kids are innocent, and so they can have honest conversations about anything, including mental health. And we want to make sure that they keep that openness when it comes to mental health. And so what Isaac's story is a story about these two friends, and they both returned from school after one of them broke her leg, so she comes back with a cast. She's been out for 2 weeks. Isaac's been out for a couple of weeks, but he comes back and you can't see his hurt. And so they talk about this. And what they realize is that mental health is just a different kind of hurt, and we all go through it. And so I'm really proud of what we've done here at DMH to develop this tool to help parents and also educators. But I'm also even more proud that we have the book we've translated into Spanish. We have translated it into Haitian Creole, and just hot off the press is our newest translation. And I had to print this out from my computer, but this is in Cape Verdean Creole. And so what's beautiful about this book is that it's free. You know, and when we launched this, wow, I can't believe it was almost 2 years ago. Was it a year ago? When we launched this campaign, we partnered with BARBERTIME, and we've been able to do readings in Worcester, Boston. We went to Brockton. We were in Lynn. And, you know, we saw how these kids really were open and to talk about this. I see the time ticking. So let me just get to this. This is so important. Yep. The books are free. You can order it by going to www.isaacs-story.com. Click on the top right. You'll see order Isaac story. It'll take you to the bottom where it says sign up. And that's how you get it. Simple as that. We're going to do this again because this feels like church. This feels really good to be part of this. And I'm reading all of the comments, and I hope this was good for everyone as it was for us. Yeah. DMH has provided resources in the community. You don't see it, but we're there. And the way we do it is through getting into contract with different community-based organizations like the Home for Little Wanderers, or it may be Children's Services in Roxbury, but we're here. And we are in the community, and we're here for you. And some of us look like me. And I also want to say to DMH that Black Lives Matter. That's so important to us, so I'm naming it. Okay? So thank you for joining us. Julia, you can open it back up.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Just because I'm getting some signal here that we are almost at the top of our hour. So I've been asked to share one question, and then I want to wrap with just next steps. So the question is, what are recommendations for best approaches for therapists and other providers, both white and people of color, to take to increase the likelihood that people of color, children, and families will trust enough to share how COVID-19 is impacting them emotionally and physically and spiritually? This was a question that was submitted via the registration. And I'm just wondering, we haven't heard from Jorge. If you don't mind, what would you share as a recommendation for people to figure out how we can get into therapy and all that good stuff?
I mean, I think just is finding your local resource. And what I find to know best is that people really truly trust people they know. So it's try to find that person that's in the city that and if you don't have someone, right? Because I mean, just like the young lady was speaking, a lot of folks are going through it right now in that space. You know, I would say reach out to us here on this panel. Be intentional. There's so much ways that you could find someone on social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, you know, and just reach out to somebody. Just reach out to somebody, because there's people out there that are going to be able to guide you and direct you to those resources and literally just give you the path of what's going to be the beginning of something amazing. We have to stress that mental health is a stigma in our community, and we have to stop that nonsense. It's all right to say that you have mental issues. It's all right to say that you're going through some type of depression. It's all right to express how things are not right at this season. Realistically, that's how I was able to get through 26 years of me being a paraplegic and even an early age father. and not having the means of money or information at the time. But it didn't stop me from reaching out and asking people. So that would be my advice. It's just don't stay stuck in that space. It's real easy. The devil's a liar, and there's people out here that love you just like everybody on this panel.
That's right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I would like to give, if any of the panelists would like to, I see you, Michelle, but hold on one quick second. I'll go back to you in a second. I just wanted to see if any of the other stylists wanted to. I'm going to go to Dr. Boogs. Go ahead. And then Queen, and then Michelle.
Really quick, I think I'm just thinking of just an idea. I actually just texted in the comments, but I said Department of Mental Health, please advise mental health practitioners to connect with a shop or salon to help streamline the mental health services that are needed for our patrons, and we could just help kind of like have a catalog or have a Rolodex of mental health experts and clinicians and psychologists or therapists to help streamline some of our patrons and customers there, so that if we don't know, we can't help. Obviously, we just help streamline them to the proper channels and sources.
I love that. I know that that's a lot. That's not all. That's great. That's actually one of the things that our office right now is working on, is developing part 2 of our barber and hairstylist support, and it includes a mental health track. So I'll be following up with you both on that. I'm going to go to Queen.
I mean, Book stole the show with that one. That's a perfect avenue that we need to distribute people to the right resources and like he says, streamline them to the proper physicians or therapists, because we do our part, we do what we can, but as far as a professional therapist, we definitely need that access.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Queen, you got the right name. I'm going to go to Michelle. I'm going to go to Michelle, then I'm going to go to Malika, and then I'm scared to go to you, Matthew, but I'm going to go to you too. And then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, go ahead, Michelle. Oh, we can't hear you.
Okay, so what I want to say is that this is hopefully the first of many other events like this that DMH would sponsor. We are definitely happy to talk to the folks that are here, Queen and Dr. Boogs. One of our goals is to really get into the community, and we've done that. We're so intentional about that we've hired a director of community engagement. And so her and I will be working with the Metro Boston area office to plan, more community involved events. And we know that the barber and the hair salon. But I also want to answer the question about where do I go? The first step is to go to your primary care physician. If you're going to your doctor, you go to your primary care physician, ask her, let them hear or she know that you're looking for a therapist or someone. Also, you want to shop around for therapists. I didn't like the first therapist that I had because I looked all my trauma, everything I was telling her, she kept getting scared. She was literally doing like that, and I'm like, she was charged. I felt like I was re-traumatizing her. But so those are the things: to go to your primary care physician, also your insurance company, check in with them, see who they have, and shop around. But again, this is not the last time we'll be doing this. Dr. Matt, Malika, and I work often together, and I see this happening again. So just stay tuned, everybody.
Great. And y'all know I'm a busybody, so I'm going to be part of that conversation because I'm the chair of small businesses, so I'm here to support all of this. So I'm going to go to Malika and then Dr. Matthew, and I'm going to wrap it up. I promise y'all.
Super quickly. One, I heard that question asking also what providers could do to help families and children be open. And I just wanted to note that that I feel like providers need to stay in a state of inquiry and wondering about people, because racism presents itself as assumptions. And when you assume what somebody is going through or what their story is, you can't hear them. And that a lot of times prevents people from engaging in services because they're not feeling heard. And so I think it's key. And I think we all have to remember that we are a product of the system we are attempting to dismantle. And so we have to question what we think, question our assumptions, So as providers, if there are providers here and listening, I just think we have to question what we've been taught in this system. And racism presents itself as assumptions, and we assume what families are telling us, or we assume what they're going through, and we have to ask questions, and we have to wonder with them, and we have to listen.
Thank you for that. You know, Dr. Matthew, I know you're gonna need some therapy. Yep, go ahead. What you got there? Real quick. Knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Wow, you're getting very creative. Thank you. You are like,
that's all I gotta say.
I gotta give you 20 seconds just because that was I gotta go ahead. I can't hear you though. You gotta go off mute. Go ahead.
I could tell you about what we do with the State Department of Mental Health, Children's Services of Roxbury, a lot of advocacy organizations, but really parents, listen to your kids. Look beyond their faults and understand their needs. To listen, if you rearrange the word listen, you listen to, it's called silence. You have to be silent. Don't judge. Don't be quick to judge the kids. Try to understand what they're trying to tell you and listen. Because if you listen, you may better understand what they're trying to say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Matthew. So thank you, everyone, our viewers, for joining us on this important discussion today. And as Michelle said, this is just the beginning. I also like to thank the panelists. Jose Moreno, also from the Mattapan Community Center, Michelle Bodas, the Massachusetts Department of Mental Health, and of course, Barber Time Media Network for helping us make this event successful. Again, my name is Julia Mejia, at-large city councilor. Looking forward to working alongside each of you on this journey. And this conversation hopefully inspired some thought, but more importantly, inspires us into action. I just want to give a big shout out to Ian for all his hard work and bringing this together, and looking forward to what's to come. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Julia. Bye-bye.
Can I see y'all?
Thank you all.
Thank you. This was dope. We got to do this again, y'all.
Thank you. I loved it.
We gotta do.
To me, when fading, every hair matters. So I like to get up on the fade with my eyeball so I can look. I'm going to be working on a funky, original part from the 80s, making the comeback in a futuristic way. Today's topic is Zion Williamson, the NBA's rising star. Come on in, DeAndre. Hey, my brother. How are you, man? Oh, man, you got the perfect canvas. What I'm going to do, what I'm really cool at, the Philly fade. That's part of Zion Williamson's haircut. We're gonna fade the side right here real nice and tight, then swing around and put that iconic Z on the left side of your head. So DeAndre, let's look at some cool pictures of Zion's haircut.
So this is when Zion was, I guess, first growing out, his high top fade?
Like this cut right here is really taking shape. The fade was done by different barbers. In some cases it's high on his right side, in some cases it's lower on his right side. So what we're looking at here is his season debut, the new fade. See how high the fade is right here. Now let's go back to his Duke days. Look at the fade here. See how much lower the fade is?
Yeah, I like his fade back in his Duke days rather than how it is now.
More definition. So I hook you up with a low fade. On the other side, we're gonna get that Z just like here on this photo.
I'm down with that. It's iconic, it's fresh.
Let's get started. Let's start off with the fade, the right profile. Grab my Monster 99s from Caliber to put in the guideline. From the utility brush. So here, right here, I like to start real low. So I'm gonna bald it right here. We're gonna bald it on the ankle. As you can see, cool, dry canvases are best. So while I'm in the fade motion, I'm gonna go ahead and kill some time and just shave his face. One stroke. I put my first guideline in, so now I'm ready to go to the adjustable clippers. So I got my 50 mags from Caliber. I'm gonna start to take some of the weight line out and the bulk out down to the taper so I can fade it nice and even. Side profiles are great to start on. This is a 1.5 guard. Oh, very powerful. So I'm gonna take my first swipe here. Always remember, guards mean safety. This texture of his hair is very good for this cut.
But how often do you recommend to wash your hair? Because I heard you're not supposed to wash it every day.
That right there, that's a problem. When people say that you're not supposed to wash your hair every day, you can wash your hair every day because it's a part of your body, it's a part of your hygiene. There's nothing wrong with washing your hair every day. Whatever you take out of your hair, oils, you put the same exact oils back in your hair. There's nothing wrong with washing your hair each day. Nothing at all.
Have you ever had a high top fade before or no?
Yeah, I had a high top fade long time ago.
Like in high school or college?
High school, I didn't go to college. Not even high school, middle school. So that was like in the 80s. 1988 to 1992.
Like the baggy pants, right?
Yeah, the baggy pants were in back then. That's funny how things come back around. I call it the remix. Like Puffy said, he invented the remix. This is the remix. So while I'm doing this, I'm just working on taking out the weight line here, right here, directly right in this section, but on the low and on the angle. Right here, I'm ready to go for the finishing touches with the fade. I'm going to come back to the guard, actually. So I'm going to clean it off so I can go into my next step. So tapering, blending your guideline at the ball fade is what I'm going to do now. And just, open it all the way up. You don't have to go all the way up. You can kind of like use the comb as a guard to stop that, to get that clean fade down. It's important to start picking at it so you don't raise it to make another line. The biggest mistake that you can make when fading is taking the fade too high because you need canvas. I call this construction paper. So while my guard is off, I can do most of my fading without a guard and keep a comb in hand here. What weight lines are is when the hair is thick in the fade. Man, I really love these 50 mags. They're so quiet. So as I'm working on my right side here, I want to clean this goatee up. I finished my fade. We're gonna clean it up some more at the end, but this is what that low skin fade looks like.
Do you have a favorite type of hair you like to cut, like waves or like a favorite style that you prefer?
One of my favorite styles is the fade cut, because I like to show my work. I like to break it down into division problems. Steps and fades. You go from a 0 to a 1 to a 1.5 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4 to a 5. When it comes for me cutting hair, I want people to see it to be like, damn, like that's a tight fade. Who cut your hair? This gentleman here is like a walking billboard for me. I put the 50 mag back, so now I'm going back to my 99 series for my lineup. Haircut like this, $30. I used to be $5.99. So I'm just putting a little light line on the front of the hair. So it's clean, right? So the next step, I think I want to go to the Z on the left side, the left canvas, the left head to hit it left field. So yeah, this is what everybody wants to see here. How I'm gonna do it, going back to my 50 bags. So I'm gonna swipe down, taking some of the bulk out to make